Welcome back to the Unacceptable News. I am your host, Justin Bush, and everything's a video. These plants that I pulled from the garden are a video. This tomato sauce is a video. This parchment paper is also a video. Everything's a video. So, why is everything a video? I guess it just is. So, this is starter. This is for making bread, and specifically sourdough bread. Here is some sourdough bread that was made recently. Here's another loaf. My girlfriend and I are in a kind of a battle over who can make the flattest sourdough bread. This is actually really good sourdough bread. I'm not complaining in any way, and I'm sure you saw this. It needs to be refreshed. It is for gnats. So this is sugar. I didn't mean to put it in the video, but it's sugar and apple cider vinegar and a little bit of soap, and it catches gnats really well. And when you have compost, when you have things like bread sitting out or things like produce, it's inevitable that you get these fruit gnats. They come out of everywhere and they really bother you. So we have traps. I've got multiple of these traps around the house to make sure we get all the gnats. They're a real pain, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about making bread. So this is for tomorrow. This is our starter, and I have a very unique way of making starter. It's worked for me really well in the past. And so I just wanted to show you kind of how I make starter. So one of the things that you can do is you can freeze old yeast. So when you start a starter, what you can do is every time you make sourdough, you usually have some left, right? You have your starter left. So we put ours in the fridge. You can preserve it in the fridge for maybe a week or two, and you feed it once a week or so. My girlfriend, I know she has some in the oven right now. She is getting that ready for tomorrow. You can see that it is expanded twice. So she's going to come in here and take probably 200 grams, and whatever's left, she will either make a new starter from it or she will do something with it. So some people make crackers with it. Some people bake them into pancakes. That's my favorite way. You can literally just add a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and fry it up just like a pancake. And it will leaven. It's got tons of carbon dioxide in there, all those bubbles. So it will make a really delicious sourdough pancake. The other thing that you can do is put it in the fridge to try to preserve it for longer, or you can just continually feed it. But when you're continually feeding this, you end up with a lot of waste. A lot of people throw it away. They flush it down the drain, or they throw it outside. They put it in the compost, and that's all well and good. I want to show you a different way of saving your yeast, so your wild yeast that you've captured in your sourdough. And I will show you really quick. Let me put this phone down, and we'll get back to you. Alright, I'm sure you can hear me just well. I don't have a mount. Actually, I do have a mount for the phone that I can carry with me, but I can't find it. So that's why a lot of my videos are just me holding the phone. And it gets kind of tacky and annoying, of course. But anyway, so we've just got some parchment paper. No big deal. Our oven light is on. Our oven is about 100 degrees. So she's using that 100-degree oven to leaven her sourdough. My sourdough right now has been sitting out on the counter. It's going to go in the oven as well. I just made it, and I want to show you how I made it. So what you can do is you can take your sourdough starter like this, okay? And let's say you've got some extra and you don't want to make pancakes or crackers with it or whatever. What you can do is you can take your sourdough and you can pour it on a parchment paper. I'm only going to use a little bit of this. Ooh, that was a little more than I wanted to use. But such is life. So you can put it out on a parchment like that. And if you want to, you can smooth it out a little bit. Well, you should smooth it out a little bit. And all the yeast that's in here will survive being frozen in the freezer. So you're just going to smooth this out, and you're going to put it in 100. You really want to keep your oven less than 170 degrees or so, so you don't kill off your yeast. But anyway, you're just going to lay it out on a parchment like this, and then you're going to pop it in the oven, and you're going to allow it to dry. Now you can turn your oven on to a very low temperature. Some people's ovens will go as low as like 120 degrees or something like that. Really, you want to keep it at 100 or so. So the light being on is perfect, and you're going to leave it in there until it dries. When you come back and it dries, you're going to take your parchment and crack it up, and you're going to make this. So this is wild yeast. This is old discard from making bread before, and I'll show you in the freezer. There are other bags of it. There's this one. I just made one the other day with what was left from the 2 pieces of bread over there. I made some that was left from the inside of the jar, and then here's one from last year. I actually wrote wild yeast on it. I stopped writing on the bags because there's absolutely no reason to do that, because it's the only thing in the fridge or the freezer that looks like this. So this will stay in the freezer, and when you're ready to make more sourdough, like I shouldn't have put it away, but my sourdough, this one here, I did not catch any more yeast. What I did was I put my water in. I took probably about 2 tablespoons of this. I put it in the water. That's warm water. It's about 100-degree water. It breaks down. You mix it up, okay, and then you add your flour to it. Now this sourdough will literally rise by the end of the day. It will double, because these yeast are, believe it or not, they're dormant, but they are alive in here, and they want to get out and get some food. They want to warm up. They want to start to produce carbon dioxide again, bubble. So you put 2 tablespoons of this in here, you mix a little bit of water, a little bit of flour, and by the end of the day, it will double, and you can start making bread again. And this is a really effective way of saving your discard. Essentially, this is, if you want to think of it this way, it's like an instant yeast. Is it as fast as what you would buy at the store? No. It's going to take probably 2, maybe 3 times as long as instant yeast to rise. Like my instant yeast, I can usually get it to rise in about an hour. So if I make a pizza dough or something, or bread, in about an hour it will double or triple in size. This might take you 3 to 5 hours. But this is a way of saving all that discard, so that way you can use it, in something extremely useful later on. So you're not wasting and wasting and wasting all of your yeast. I mean, you're creating this yeast. And one of the things that I found, I actually prefer to do it this way. And the reason I prefer to do it this way is because a lot of when you do wild caught yeast, a lot of the other bacteria that gets inside your starter doesn't taste that good. If you've ever had a sourdough bread, it's called sourdough for a reason. It's very sour. The acid that's created by the bacteria is sometimes it can be, a lot of people don't like it. It's an acquired taste. When you freeze it this way, a lot of the bacteria that's in here will die. So you will kill a bunch of different types of bacteria. They won't survive the freezer. And so when you use this method, it creates a much more mild sourdough bread. It doesn't have as much of that acidic taste as you would normal sourdough from a normal sourdough starter. So I actually prefer this than to create a new starter. I love this method. If you want to try it, there's lots of other people that have done this. In fact, it's not like I invented it. This is my preferred method of creating sourdough, because it still tastes like sourdough. It's just not as pungent, and I think that has a lot of value. when you're making bread, because sometimes you just don't want, especially if you're like if you're making a cinnamon sugar toast, you don't want that extremely sour acidic taste on your bread when you're making a lot of different types of desserts and things like that. It's good for a sandwich, ham and cheese, but there are certain things like French toast, you just don't want that sour flavor, and this significantly reduces the sour flavor. And I personally believe it's because a lot of the bacteria die. There are certain bacteria that survive the freezer, and then there are some that just don't, and it completely changes the flavor profile of your yeast. And I just want to show that to you. So you guys have a good one.